Well, there's 50 phases of indexing, and you got to decide which shade of gray you want to operate in before you can make the decision on which vertical to use and sort of amplify the semantic analysis of the topical relevance of the link to see if the URL has a question mark in it, then it's indexed.
I
Damn, it's
agree with
like listening to a mirror.
That was really good. I like that. We got that on recording too, I think, right?
Yeah, you got to agree
I
with
got my
Clint
new
on that.
ringtone.
Totally new paradigm, and Clint's on top of it. So
Did
New
I
ringtone, I call it
actually start the
sarcasm.
stream? Hey, we're streaming, but where the heck is my YouTube?
You got banned from your
you
own
know,
channel.
I'm not seeing it. Let me refresh.
Well, there's 50 pages.
Oh, there we go. I think I found the right browser tab. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of SEO Fight Club. I'm just popping out the YouTube chat right now. And let me go ahead and share my screen. We got a few announcements to make. First one being, if I can find it here. First one being, we temporarily have swag. So if you missed out on getting a Fight Club t-shirt about 3 or 4 years ago when we had them, now is your limited time. I needed a Shopify store to code against, and so I set one up and figured might as well set up a print on demand. There is about $15 of margin on these t-shirts. The proceeds will be used to promote the channel. The rest is the cost of print on demand. My apologies for that. So it is a little bit pricey, but it is for a good cause to help spread awareness of SEO Fight Club. And if you want to represent, this is a cool thing to show up at a conference wearing. And I might be giving away one or two at the conference as well if you attend in person. And that conference would be SEO Spring Training. Terry's driving. I'll wait till he parks somewhere and ask him for an update, but not while he's driving. That would probably be a crime. Um,
Actually, it's not as long as I'm hands free.
well, I don't want to get you killed right before the conference. So, people would be a little bit grumpy at me if I did that.
That's for sure.
So
All
Terry,
right.
I have a thought for this. If you're going to give away T-shirts at the conference, you know what's cooler than the T-shirt? That's a T-shirt cannon. You should
I
have
was
one of
just
those for the
thinking the same
conference.
thing.
Gotta have a T-shirt cannon.
Well, the room is about 40 feet, and I think at that distance you can, cause serious bruising. So
If
I'm
you
all for it.
if you can dodge a wrench,
I don't know. You're in Arizona, open carry, firing off something that sounds like a gun. You're probably gonna get shot down.
Yeah, if we got two of them, we could have a quick draw contest.
ooh,
All
all
right.
right, I'll come to the conference.
All right. So with that, what what do you guys have to announce if you have anything you need to announce? I know Madge has an announcement. I know Terry has an announcement. Um, Anybody want to start?
I don't mind going first, Ted.
Okay.
Yeah, so Magic PR now has USA Today part. It's live and kicking since today. Um, Part of the gold package. So whoever purchases the gold package going forward will receive USA Today part of that syndication.
Wow, that's a big one.
Yes, it's a DR93, and it's the top 5 publication in the US. So I'm well chuffed that we finally have managed to get it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what type of power it really has.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And Madge, for people who may not know, what is the domain they can go to?
magicpr.com. Yeah, if they have any questions or related to press releases or they need any advice, they can schedule a 30-minute call with myself by visiting the Calendly link on the website. Book a call, and I'm happy to give 30 minutes free of advice and what they should do with a PR.
Awesome. And so, Terry, when you get a chance, interrupt, but do so safely. I'd rather have dead air than dead conference host.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So there's a meeting at the hotel this morning, so we're headed there now, and crunch time. That's what we're doing.
So, last minute, what do people need to know?
Well, a couple different things. So Marty Marion came out, and he's going to do a master class for all the ticket people that bought a ticket, virtual and live. And then we've also decided to do what we're going to call digital days. So we're going to do 3 digital days to ticket holders. Also after the conference. Last year we did that. I think we did 3 last year, but the digital days will also be included in the ticket prices. Everything else is good. I even had a question a couple days ago. I've got a couple people that are just flying in for the tech mastermind day. They can't do the whole thing, but they don't want to miss the tech day, and I don't blame them. Tech day is going to be something that people have never seen before. So we're going to be building stuff. Marty Marion and I are going to come out and show you what we've been doing through his system and his book. But yeah, you don't want to miss the tech day, which is the Thursday before the event. So, but it's just crunch time, 3 weeks away, having fun.
Is the Tech Day going to be part of the online offering?
It is not. Nope. The tech day is not recorded, and it's nothing virtual, anything. The only way to see the tech day, of course, is live.
All right. So sorry for that, online attendees, but if you're not in a place where you can afford to travel to a conference, the online portion is still going to capture all of the event sessions that are inside the event. So the main speakers, and I believe there was an outstanding question on whether or not the breakouts would be streamed or not.
Yeah, 2 of the breakouts will be. So the animation breakout and the AI breakouts will be part of the big room this year. So those will be part of the live stream. So the only 2 that will not be part of the live stream is search and growth.
All right. So yeah, and if I understand correctly, that means that no, I'm confused. So yeah, you still get a lot of the show with the online, and I recommend that as the price sensitive option, or the international option, if you're just too far away from Arizona.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal for $500. 2.5 days of this, and then the 3 digital days, and we always have bonus stuff going on. You're also going to get the ability to take advantage of the different sponsors' offerings through the app. So the digital people will also get the app, so they can, get whatever sponsors are offering as far as swag and digital, price stuff and everything else. So pretty
and
exciting.
And I forget if I'm main stage or breakout. Am I going to be in the online portion?
Yes, you'll be on the online portion. You and Kyle Roof are closing the event on Sunday.
Okay. So yeah, I'm giving away source code, So I'm giving away a prototype working example of my using PHP to consume a merchant center product feed to make a microsite store that people can complete their purchase on the store. And that way you can get like 15 domains and set up 15 managed or 25 domains and get 25 managed micro stores that link to all your products and get you your referring domains. And it's all managed by the feed. So as new products come in and old products sell out, it all takes care of itself because it's feed managed microsites. And so I'm giving the source code to how I did that back in the day. It is still very relevant today. And we'll be talking about that in my session. And I think my session alone is worth the price of the online ticket. So everything else you get is value on top of that. So keep in mind if you find one or two really useful things to add to your toolbox, I mean, that can be game changing. And that's how you want to use these things. You want one or two new tools to add to your toolbox, and you want to network. You want to talk to people, find out what's going on. So if you're attending in person, and you see me, sitting at the table or at a bar or something, come say hello. I love talking shop. Like, introduce yourself. I don't bite. And let's talk some SEO. Tell me what you're up against. Take advantage of the conference.
Yep, 100%. Definitely.
Clint, what do you think?
I was just marveling at how humble you are.
Well, I just want people to attend and support the event.
Yep, definitely. Terry and Elizabeth and the rest of the family have done well and beyond what most conference people have or organizers have done. Not only for the speakers, but for the attendees since day one of launching SEO Spring Training. And then every year it just gets better and better and better. So I'm always proud to support these guys in any way that I can. And looking forward to this year.
Thank you. Awesome.
Charles, any last minute teaser?
Last minute teaser for fight.
The event, your
The event.
speech.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about migrations, and it's probably going to be the last time folks are going to see that presentation live. So make sure you attend it.
Bring your questions.
Bring your questions. I've got lots of new examples. I've been running these for a while now, so lots of examples, lots of case studies, lots of graphs showing people crushing their sites, and lots of graphs showing people doing the right thing.
And I'll let you know a life hack here, people. If you have questions for Charles regarding migrations, you can ask them free in person at the conference, but they cost you money otherwise.
Yep.
So there you go, extra value.
I'm going to throw something else out there. I was at an event in 2023, and we're at a VIP day, and we're all the speakers were up at the front, and you could ask them anything. And at the end of that, it was Terry Samuels jumped up and he said, "Hey, I just want to throw this out to the room. You guys, you're here. When the speaker's done, come up to them, talk to them at the bar, have dinner with them. Don't be, because this is how, sort of you build your network and you get to know things like that. So for those of you that are going, take advantage of hanging out with, Ted and Clint and Charles and Terry at the bar. Don't be afraid to go up and just, start a conversation, even if it's just, hey, Clint, I like the way you do this, or hey, Charles, I really enjoyed your talk on that, or, hey, Ted, what the fuck, whatever.
You were there that day.
Don't be afraid to go up and do that, because that's, that's how you pick up the nuggets and, build your network as well. So,
Yeah. I mean, one of the coolest things that I'm probably the most proud of with this event is just the whole idea that, people have created partnerships through this. There's people that are created new businesses together just because they met at this event. And, that's really cool. And
Mhm.
so when you can even take your networking into something that you can monetize and build, and, two of the people that I know about, they're getting ready to sell what they built, so it's like pretty cool. So, that's why the live events are so much fun and so worth it, especially to us, is, we want to make sure that people get to know each other. And, there's not much we can't handle if you get a good network, so we've all called each other,
Yeah.
what the hell, I need help, and if you don't have that, especially nowadays, I think you're behind the eight ball big time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And if you're at all anxious about how the world is changing, how SEO is changing, what are some things you need to watch? What are some things you can do? That's what this event is all about. So, keep in mind that, we're pulling all the experts together to share what they know, to see what they see, and, to try to make plans from there. And so that's why I love these events, is they get you caught back up. And if you've been working in isolation, and I understand that because like the first 15 years of my SEO career, I worked in isolation. Uh, you get lost. And this is how you find your way out of that.
Mhm.
yeah, 100%.
All right, let's get on to the topic. Today, we're going to discuss the news briefly before we get into Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them into the YouTube chat. If they're urgent, I recommend that you get them in early because on rare occasions, we don't get to all of them. But all right, so the main news story this week is the Google Search Console has inflated impressions since May of 2025. Um, and my thoughts on it are kind of flippant in that the accuracy of Search Console was bad before May of 2025. And I would postulate that it is still bad today. So I think the accuracy is arguably unchanged, even though the numbers trend differently. What do you think, Lee?
Well, hold on. I'm going to just clarify here because they're fixing it now. It should be fixed in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Are you saying at that point that it'll be good data?
No, I'm not. It was bad before.
So
um,
what
uh,
what makes it bad in your eyes, Ted? I know what
it's
makes it bad in my eyes, but what
it
makes it bad in your eyes?
that's a good question because it's not actually bad. It's a tool with a designed purpose, and its designed purpose is diagnostics. Do you have an issue? And from the time that it was created to the present day, Google has said, this tool gives you some of the good, some of the bad, some of the middle, but it doesn't give you everything. So it's highly sampled data, and I believe it's true because when I'd go in and I'd try to find keywords that client sites ranked number one for, sometimes they wouldn't be in there. So if you're ranking number one for something and it's like your core keyword and it's not represented in Search Console, well, that can happen with sampling.
Mhm.
And it doesn't make it a bad tool. It means that the tool's intended purpose wasn't to be authoritative analytics. And so, the fact that the impression counts are way up, I don't think it changes the diagnostics. I think what it changes is, how people using it for an analytics platform worry about it now?
Well, also you hear a lot of times with questions that go to John Mueller and some of the others at Google, they'll say, "Oh, just check your Search Console data, and it'll show you X, Y, and Z." And you're like, "Will it?" It depends on the accuracy of the sampling for on average across millions and millions of websites. On average, it's okay, but it's the variability within that, and it's almost all variability. I mean, Charles and I the other day were just looking at log data and trying to map it back to Search Console data, and there's a fucking exercise in frustration.
Yeah, and with sampling applications, and Google Analytics and Search Console utilize sampling to different degrees. With sampling applications, it benefits you to have a very small website. So if you're a plumber with 12 pages on your website, yeah, you could probably use Search Console as an analytics platform and get away with that just fine. But if you're an online retailer with 2,000 SKUs, well, now you're starting to get into dicey territory. And if you're an online retailer with 50,000 SKUs, you are batshit crazy.
So Ted, I'm going to disagree a little bit on I don't think it's good for the small business or the big business. The reason I say that is because I had recently, there was a contractor, he does deck building and repair and things like that, one of my clients, and I was showing him the data, and at the top of the graph it showed, whatever it was, a couple dozen hits in a day on average, and then when you went down to the bottom where it showed the traffic per page or per keyword, didn't even come close to adding up. And again, we're talking about, a couple dozen hits over a week, and it really wasn't that much data. So, there was just basically no data in the breakdown. And so his question was a good question. Well, then how do we know this data at the top is correct? And I had to tell him, I was like, well, it's probably not correct. It's probably just, Google calls it a sampling, and it's not gonna, it's hopefully it's directional. Um,
I like
Yeah,
it. Charles coming in and slapping those local rose-colored glasses right off of Ted's face. Smack.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Like my perspective came from a history of calculating lossiness. So we would track revenue and orders through Google Analytics, and we would also track them through a payment processor, and we'd also track them through our web server application logs. And so we could balance and compare the books across three independent sources. And what we found was our tiny stores had less lossiness than our bigger stores. And as our stores overall grew, their individual lossiness would increase with the growth of the site. And so that's why I feel there's this trend that it's better when you're small. But to Charles's point, it's probably still flawed.
I think it's important to realize when John Mueller talks that often what he says he means, but those words don't always mean what they think we mean, because one of the definitions of fix includes to neuter, make inoperative, and that may be the term they're using.
Yeah, and one thing I learned from the whole exercise of calculating the lossiness is that the payment processor over 15 years never lost track of a single penny. But Google Analytics lost a whole lot of pennies. So just know, and we went crazy in that business trying to solve the analytics. Like, oh, it just needs to be better. We got the paid analytics at the $250,000 a year. We put in almost 2 million in contractors, experts to come in and help us. So we had analytics pros. They were the number one consultant at the time for analytics integrations. We were backfilling missing order data into Google's system. So we'd send them our orders to backfill what was missing in the reports. And even then, it was still 12.5% lossy. So that's as good as it can get in terms of Google's system. And I know Google touts that their paid analytics is, gets you away from sampling. It does for a couple of reports, but by and large, there's still a lot of sample data in there, and you have to be even extra careful now because now you don't know where the pit traps are. So what do you think will happen when Google fixes the bug? What
So,
gets set right in the world?
so Ted, that's one of the things I was thinking about. The last year, everyone's been talking about the alligator graph, where impressions keep going up and clicks are going down. Does that mean the alligator is going to close its mouth? Does that mean that's going away, or impressions going to suddenly come down? I'm curious if Google retroactively fixes the data, or if we're just going to see everyone's going to see a sudden drop in their impressions. My guess is everybody's going to see a sudden drop. Um, but yeah, it's interesting that we've all, as an industry, and I find it really funny actually if that does happen, if the impressions do go down, because how many people in the industry for the past year have all been saying, well, this increase in impressions and decrease in clicks with zero data, other than that, that's all because of AI. Everyone declared it was because of the AI overviews, and that's the new normal, and business models and consultants and books and articles were all written about that. Was it just a Google data error?
Yeah, it's gonna be embarrassing for a few people out there, but you know, gotta
All
you gotta
around, like,
pass.
because Google's heard people making these statements, and hasn't Google at least said themselves, and again, this is assuming that this is causing that alligator chart that everybody talks about. Hasn't Google been curious at any point in the last year to say, hey, yeah, why is that happening? We're not seeing that much traffic or impressions or traffic go into AI.
Whoa, 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 Charles, you're assuming that the error that we see on Search Console wasn't also on their own internal reporting.
That's a good point. That's a real good point.
Oh, I don't know that Google would use analytics. um Yeah, the other thing is whatever's causing that very likely is making Google money at the moment, so they're probably not inclined to fix that side of the problem.
Or
So
more to the point, Search Console is a free product. Analytics, for the most part, is a free product. They have zero incentive to make it right. So if I'm a business decision maker and I have to fix AI and PPC and Search Console is going on the fucking back burner and I'll fix it when I get around to it.
Are you
yeah,
saying if I get a petition and 100,000 people pull away from Google Analytics and we shut down our accounts, that Google isn't going to give a flying fuck, sir? Is that what you're saying?
They could give two shits.
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Oh, sweet, we've been looking for a reason to shut this down."
yeah, that's true. If we got squeaky enough, they'd probably shut it down. Um, yeah, so I guess it'd be interesting to know from the audience, what do you guys think will happen as a result of this bug getting fixed? How does the world get better if Google fixes this? Um, I just don't see urgency behind the solution other than the people that use Search Console for their analytics platform will sleep better at night and have better, you know.
After this, you shouldn't sleep better at night.
No, I
Like
think
this
if
is a
we,
wake-up call, if anything. It's like your
Here's what
data's all
I'll
been lies.
here's what I'll say. You go to conferences, you listen to other SEOs talk. And these days, I mean, Lee can attest to this. We were just in his mastermind and they had this oh, I don't track rankings anymore. I don't track traffic anymore. All I care about is leads and sales. And then those same people are bitching about Search Console data. That doesn't compute.
yeah,
If you stop tracking rankings and stuff because you're using Search Console and you're making business decisions based off of that blindly, then you're a moron. And then two, if you're telling people to ignore all the other steps to get you to leads and traffic and sales, which is, ranking, optimization, position, keyword research, market research, et cetera, which is where I think Search Console fits into. It's not a data platform, it's a research tool. And Google is giving us a place to start versus blindly starting somewhere random, right? So, I mean, Lee's not going to just take on a project and be like, "Hey, I want to make blue buffaloes today." That's let's get going,
hey, you're outing my niche, dude.
without without doing any research. So, as a part-time attendee and mostly an audience member, I think I fit into this, and I'd say that, one, if you were making pure sole business decisions on Search Console data without doing follow-on research, you're using the tool wrong. If you're an influencer who is, gonna get a little bit of egg on your face, I can tell you, knowing a lot of those influencers, they don't care. They were over that content as soon as they hit publish. So, you know, it they'll be fine. And then the enterprise folks that were telling everyone, this is the Bible, this is the gospel of your marketing, shame on you. But at the end of the day, it goes back to your ownness. If you weren't using that data and double checking and triple checking to make sure that it was right before you made a business decision or you did something to a client site, then you know this is your time to kind of step back and go, oh, I should probably adjust that part of my SOP.
And
Yeah.
if you used it for your technical audit to find, certain issues that might need fixing, carry on.
Yeah.
Well, I think, it
If
was
you're my
always,
competition, carry on. If you're not my competition, I suggest you go watch some of Charles's stuff when he's done on Screaming Frog. Go watch the Sightbulb channel, etc., and learn how to do this stuff for real.
yeah. I'm gonna say, it was always shitty sampled data that could be used to guide your decisions. Then it was shitty sampled inflated data that would be used to guide your decisions. And now it's going back to shitty sampled data to guide your decisions. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the things I like to diagnose with it are, I like to see, is there an indexation problem? Do I have a 500-page website with 250,000 index pages? I like to see, are there different categories for why things aren't appearing in the indexes? I like to see a sampling of the keywords that are being found for the website, because do they make sense for the content? Are they on topic? Are they all branded? Are they spammy? I like to look at some of the referring sites, because you can see a lot of shenanigans there. And I haven't been made aware of the manual action in years now, but I used to check there to make sure there weren't any manual actions. Have you guys even seen a manual action in the past 2 years?
Yep.
Well, all right. So
You got to
Yeah.
go out of your way to get their attention to do to get. But yes, they are still releasing them. But again, you got to go way out of your way to attract one.
The last manual action I saw was it was a news site that had a subdomain that Google decided it didn't like. That was back when Google went after all the what was that, domain authority abuse or whatever that new thing they came up with.
Hijacking,
Yeah.
or yeah.
Yeah, that new authority abuse penalty they came up with to go after the coupons and whatnot. But they spread a wide net for that. They went after anyone that they determined, other than the New York Times, of course, but they determined everybody that they determined that was abusing the domain authority, which, by the way, Google has claimed there is no such thing as domain authority. So I don't know how you could abuse something that never existed to begin with.
That is an interesting point. How can you get the penalty for something they deny? But Google doesn't have to follow its own definitions.
Mhm.
So as I understand it, the error is the impressions are inflated. Is that am I correct?
Yes.
So they fixed, air quotes, fixed the impressions count back in what, right around May 2025, right? When all,
September-ish, wasn't it?
yeah, when everyone's impressions all dropped because they're removing bots. So now it's inflated again. Is that more, it's broken because it's still reporting bots, or is it broken because it's just making shit up?
Honestly, Clint, they're a little vague. Ted, if you don't mind, I have their screen up. I'll share it real
Yeah.
quick,
Sure.
and we can look at exactly what they're saying. Oh, I got to send a
Oh, yeah. 1 second.
request. Yeah.
All right. Now you can share.
So the first thing I want to do is I just want to dunk on Google a little bit. I love the part where it says, on rare occasions, there might be an event in Search Console could affect your report data. It's been going on for a year.
Yeah, the past year.
But to your point, Clint, they don't go right out and say that they were inflated. They do say you may notice a decrease in impressions, but a logging error is preventing Google Search Console from accurately reporting impressions from 2025 onward. So they don't specifically say I'm assuming that they were inflated. But they don't say that they were inflated. They don't say everyone will see a decrease. It says you may notice a decrease. So this could just be Google talk where they're just like, you may notice a decrease. Like there's a lot of, a lot of conditions on that. You may not notice it. I don't know.
Well, if you're using Search Console data for click-through rate calculations, you know, warning alert.
And it also reads to me like, is it really been broken for a year, or is it the way that the logs are, there's some kind of bug where it's going back and it's adding numbers to your historical data that was saved?
Well, there was sample data. It had bugs. They made a fix, which added bugs.
Yeah, well, but I'm asking, that's how that reads, is the logging error is preventing Search Console from accurately reporting impressions. So to me, as a non-knower, I'm completely dumb to this, but the UI is not interacting with the database properly, which is creating this error in how we're showing your data.
Well, from my read of it, a logging error problem is in recording the data to the logs. Logging error is preventing Search Console from accurately reporting. That's a presentation analytical layer. It's
It almost seems like
inconsistent.
it's the logging maybe double counting certain things, and so if your sample data had that in, you may notice a decrease,
Yeah.
in impressions. I mean, the truth is we're all guessing. We don't freaking know.
But the statement is calling out two independent layers of the application, the logging level and the analytical presentation level. I don't know.
The logging, well, if the log that they're using to create the visualization is bad, then ergo your visualization is bad. So
Yeah, but preventing I mean, the presentation layer can accurately represent what's in the log. And
Well, that's
then,
what I just said. If the logging error is bad, then your visualization that is based on the logging data is
but
bad.
you don't need to fix it. There's nothing wrong with the visualization layer. It's just reporting what's in the log, the errors in the log in that case. It's,
So then you do need to fix it. You need to fix
yeah,
the
but
log.
the logging error isn't preventing the accurate reporting. It's, you know, I don't know. It's just a word soup.
So looking at this, I noticed the only thing they're clear on is clicks and other metrics were not affected. Unfortunately, we don't know what other metrics they're talking about because there's impressions, there's clicks, there's CTR, and there's rankings. There's position.
And there's
So is
referring domains. They took that report away when they switched
So
from
is CTR
Webmaster Tools.
accurate? Now I should go into my search console and I should
No,
calculate CTR and see what has it been wrong this whole time, or has CTR been right and clicks have been right, but the impressions have been off, and you can back into the number. I don't know.
well,
I'm
the
just now that
Man,
I'm
the
looking at
clicks
this, I'm
in
just
Search
wondering.
Console are worse than the impressions data. They're so far off on that. So, if you're sampling, I don't know what the numbers are, but let's say you're sampling, 10% of the impressions they'll show you and 5% of the clicks. You can't do that and calculate a CTR
That's
accurately.
true.
So
That's true.
well, I guess there we have it. We'll go to some questions here.
it's clear as mud.
Clear as mud. All right. So, first comment, love me some Clint. Everybody enjoys Clint. He has good perspective and speaks truth. Let's see. Is there a limit of how many canonicals I can use on a site before it becomes a problem? You should have a canonical for every URL uh, on the site. Think of it this way:
But
the
you got to read the
The other
rest of
canonical.
the
piece,
question, though. It's
yeah, the
the
other piece is
application.
Oh,
important.
we
Yeah.
we have 500 canonicals pointing to a single page. Okay, well, that is weird. All
I
right,
mean,
so
we kind of answered
canonicals
we,
are
we
for
kind of answered this
content.
question last week in the sense that I think it was Charles may have been the pithy one. Is that a canonical is not a 301, or maybe that was you, Ted. One of y'all said that,
Yeah.
and this is that.
Here's how to think of canonicals. Canonicals are for the content you are showing. So whatever the content is of the page, the canonical is the most official, formal, correct URL for that content. This is for this content, I want this exact URL to get all of the credit and ranking boost and history and everything Google has to offer. Credit this URL for it. Now, here's the thing, if the URL you're crediting has different content than the content you're trying to point the credit at, Google views that as a lie and they won't trust your canonical and they'll decide what the canonical is. So if you have, page 4 of a category canonicalizing to page 1, the content's all different. Google doesn't trust that. So, yeah, if you have 500 different content pages all canonicalizing to one page that doesn't have those 500 pages of content, you're just telling Google you lie with canonicals. You don't know how to use them and you shouldn't be trusted. And that's not what you want. You want control. You want Google to believe your canonicals. So, you, page 4 should canonicalize to page 4. What do you think, Charles?
I was just going to say that if you've got 500 canonicals or 500 pages canonically into one page, it's not a canonical problem. You've got a site problem. You've got a page problem. Like, why do you have 500 pages pointing to this? If you don't want them indexed, why do you have them on your site? Why are you linking to them? Why is Google able to find them? So that's kind of how I would I would say the problem isn't the canonical. The problem is kind of the layer. The canonical is just a symptom of a larger problem with your CMS. Um, and to Ted's point about, Google stop trusting your canonicals, um, I've seen that. I've seen it happen. We use canonicals during our migration process, but if you leave them out too long, Google reverts everything back. So you got about 2 weeks, three maybe at the most, and Google will stop trusting your canonicals. If you've got lots and lots of links pointing to pages that are then canonically into something else completely.
Any other thoughts on canonicals? All right. Jose says facts, great people. Thank you. I like that you hashtagged on YouTube. Does that even do anything? um, uh, that's reminds me of my own abilities in social media. So remember to +1 us. All right. A real estate client had a rank SOV drop on March 24th, 26, spam update date. So coincidence. I saw the same in peer competitors. They avoid spammy things, but listing pages are highly templated market city pages. The theory is thing content is defined as the difference between market level pages and city pages. Both were ranking, large markets dropped, but city pages did not. Got a feeling that Clint's going to blow up at this one. uh, I think I think there are so many things this could be. I'm not even sure where to start on answering it. Do you guys have any better precision, or are you kind of in the same space?
Well, Blair's next question, he talks about, how do you know whether it's a technical issue, a content issue, a link issue. And that's really how I would approach any major problem to a site is I'd first look, okay, technically, Google's able to get to this page. Is Google returning errors? You go through Search Console, you look at, even though we're distant Search Console, you still look at, it's the only tool we got. You do the inspect bot, you check the crawl stats, you check your logs. If you're not seeing anything different there than you saw 2 weeks ago, then I would go to the content. Now, how would you determine if your content is suddenly, if there's something a problem? I know Ted, you'll take that bit of text and then search it and see are you are you syndicating your own content? Are folks scraping you?
Yeah, and
Obviously, using something like Core is a great way to take a look at the technical and content issues.
but even the description of the problem could change how we research it. Like,
So I will give you a little insight into Blair's stuff because I do consulting for him. So without giving away his exact niche, the market pages are generally category style pages that link to other pages. That's all it's on them. It's almost like think a directory, right? That's how those market pages are laid out. Versus the city pages actually there's content on them. So that's probably that should be helpful in you guys giving him advice.
So category pages, you can get clever to differentiate between you and the millions of other similar category pages out there. Think about supplemental content strategy for your categories, related categories, similar listings. You might have new listings, you might have a carousel of new listings, but your default category sort is your best sellers. You might have Seattle listings in the category, but you might have the surrounding suburbs as carousels, or you might have neighborhoods within Seattle as carousels. So if you think about supplemental content pieces that are totally relevant and would totally bulk up your page, you could probably differentiate. And I know in retail, I like to add a short description so that when you hover over anything in a category, it would tooltip or somehow present extra information about what's at the other end of that link. And if you can get all that content into the source code as well, that's going to bulk up that page. And once you do that, then you have a great lever. You can play with the number of results per page and the number of results per carousel. And that can really magnify the scope of your content. But what I was going to also say is the way you describe the problem could also change the diagnostics. If the ranking drop was a slow decline versus a sharp fall, those kind of hint to different types of issues. And if what you're calling a drop is from number 4 to number 11, that's very different than number 4 to number 74. And so we kind of need to know more insight to even have ideas on where to start. All right. I have a website with both national level pages and specific location pages targeting the same primary keywords. I already don't like your setup, but let's go on. If I optimize the location pages for location keyword and the national page for the keyword alone, how does this affect keyword cannibalization? Can I rank them with schema, content optimization, etc.? Doing national and local on the same domain is going to be hard. It's going to be very hard. You are going to probably cannibalize and confuse and do all of the things that are tricky. I highly recommend a separate domain for local versus national. And that way, instead of cannibalization, they'll rank potentially side by side. You're not mixing local signals into your national tunings. Um, but additionally, you have to be careful because a lot of people will run their blog as a national piece for their local website. And that blog, that article on faucet repair, which is universally usable anywhere, it does help you rank for faucet repair and map search. So, you got to really look at what the problem is and what the cost of fixing it is going to really deliver and how important is national. Is national 90% of your business where it needs priority, or is the local 90% of the business and the national is just adding keywords we show up for locally? Any opinions?
It's an interesting question because let's say you sell mushrooms, right? Now there's two elements to my mushroom sales. One is e-com, and then the other is my local store. And so I would make a page about the product, right? I would make a page for buy mushrooms online, that kind of thing. But I would also make the location page so you can go to my store and you help with the map rankings, et cetera, et cetera. So I see, like, not seeing the website, I can kind of see the value of attacking both the thinking nationally in some page optimization and thinking locally in another. The locally will always rank easier. When I deal with clients like that, I kind of tell them to have this little bit of perspective, like mushrooms. I'm gonna buy mushrooms, buy psychedelics, whatever that big main primary keyword is. If you want to rank nationally, that's generally gonna be your dream keyword. But we're gonna really make the money off of these location pages and et cetera, and these broader keywords. I so I get what you're saying. It's generally harder to mix the two, but it's always harder to rank nationally than it is to rank locally. So,
Well, I think if I were doing TED Farms, I would have TED Farms be my national online mail order business, and I'd have TED Farms in Seattle be my local one. So if you're looking to come to Ted Farms and to pick strawberries in my field, Ted Farms in Seattle's what you want. If you're looking to send a strawberry gift basket to someone, then tedfarms.com is what you want. And that's kind of the ideal setup in my mind for something like that. Because then, if I need to have specific tuning for local that may conflict with tuning for national, and they can differ. They usually don't, but they can differ. Then it's there, and then you also stand the opportunity to get both rankings side by side, and then you also have an additional referring domain, off the bat. So that I
and
think is the easiest way to do it.
starting out, right?
Yeah, starting out.
Yeah.
But don't throw away the business you have. If you make good money, changing all your URLs and everything is not a good idea. So you definitely want to consider what you stand to lose as part of the discussion of how do we improve what we have.
At what point would you make the decision to merge those because maintaining two websites just doesn't make sense? I.e., Home Depot, they have location pages and they actually have an e-com store, Walmart, all those big retailers, they have locations. Franchises, most of them share a corporate website with individual location either subdomains or subdirectories. So, at what point do you make the decision to say, "Hey, you know what, this is okay to combine these two things"?
Yeah, scale changes everything, and you have to consider the workflow of your operation. And so, yeah, if you have 24,000 stores globally, you can't maintain 24,000 websites. You need to think differently. But, if you're Ted Farms, then you got room to play with the rules. So yeah, workflow and scale, all things matter in thinking out a plan. But and where you want to be, like if you want to scale to 24,000 franchises, that's kind of a different plan than I want people to come to my field and pick some berries. And so you got to focus on your plan too. All right, where'd we leave off here? Um, has anyone lost clients to AI? Yes. Or is it just me? Yes. No, it's everybody, I'm sure. How do we treat those clients when they come crawling back? I treat them kindly. Um, they're trying to survive. They're trying to pay their bills and provide for their families, and they have to be cost minded, and they're paying out of pocket, and so in general, assume that people are mostly good and doing what they have to do to survive. And so if you want their business, you know then help them. If they were assholes and burned bridges and they soaked up 80% of your time, well, then maybe let them go. Good riddance. But in general, you want to welcome people back, and I'd say about a third of my clients are, temporary usage. Like they'll get Cora for 2 months, they'll run 50 reports, they have 6 months worth of work, so they come back in 8 months to do it again. And, that's okay. And, is that my ideal customer? No. But do I want to help them? Yes, absolutely. So, think about what you can do to help your business. Think about how you can help your clients, even if they made mistakes and come crawling back, unless they burn bridges in a serious fashion. Um, you know, all right, Clint, I know your time is more valuable than mine, so what are your thoughts?
Well, if I offer a service or I'm selling a service, then like let's say a software, then I want to put out regular updates to show consistence that I'm maintaining it and stuff. So then that increases my churn or reduces my churn rate. That's one way to handle it.
Yeah, but how
You
would
walked
you
into that
handle
one,
it
dude.
from an
You walked
SEO
into that
agency?
one. But from a client's perspective versus customers, where Ted has a customer's perspective because he's running a software as a service business, he does client stuff, but for the most, or yeah, client stuff versus customer stuff. But his primary business is customer based. Uh, it is different when you're talking about client based. If you're losing, I will say that I have not lost a client because of AI. Full disclosure, I don't have a whole lot of clients and I built really good relationships with them so they stay forever. But if I was to scale up, could that potentially be a problem? I would imagine yes, it would, based on the lead source that I'm getting it. So if you're ranking for city SEO, for example, I've ranked probably more than anyone in this room for those terms. And I can tell you the leads in those terms suck ass and they don't pay a lot of money. So those are the clients that I would suspect that would leave because they're paying $750 a month and they're like, oh, I could pay $20 and have AI do my SEO. Those are the people that would think like that and will just leave you for AI. Versus if you reposition it, I've had new clients that pay more and then I openly tell them, hey, I use AI for this, this, and this. It makes us provide a better quality thing. So when you have to review your content, it's already 99% there because you've given me the inputs to make that stuff better. And we're making all of our marketing more efficient. And their buy-in is instant, right? So you just have you can avoid losing clients to AI. The other thing is fucking if stop listening to people who tell you SEO is dead, AI is killing your SEO. The search engine has just changed. The part of the search engine is now includes AI, and then on the other side of that, AI helps you be way more efficient now. So, like if you join Lee's group and then you go through his training and you get into the mastermind, and you see what those people are doing with using AI and OpenClaw, et cetera, to leverage a tool. They just have a hammer, and now they're using the hammer in much more efficient ways. So I don't know. It's a little hard for me because I come from the perspective these days of, if all you see is the negative, then I don't even want you around me, and I shut you off from my life. And so I don't get to see the sad. Oh, I'm losing clients. I'm thinking, how am I going to gain clients by using AI better?
I like that.
Ted, Clint, I think that's the right angle to look at it too. Because so I had a client, I had him for years, 4 or 5 years easily. Just recently, he decided, because and I know he's having some trouble with his business, so I have sympathy for him. And he thinks he can save money by having AI. He's got Claude, and He thinks if he just asks Claude questions, it'll give him the right answer. I've already seen him make some mistakes. I tried to warn him away from it, saying, "Hey, you shouldn't cut up your title tags like that. You're losing optimization." He's going to do his thing. Now, with that said, like, what do I do? You have to think about it from a business. So Ted's absolutely right that these people, these folks are just they're trying to make the right decision for their business. Um, Understand that you're in business. I'm in business to make money. I'm not doing this to make friends with people. I've got clients where after 4 months, they start complaining they didn't see amazing results. There were results actually, but they just weren't, I didn't double their business in 4 months. And so they left. That was a year ago. And I was like, all right, that's fine. But honestly, if they came back, I'm like, yeah, you can come back as long as you pay your bill. I don't care. If you want to leave again after 4 months, look, you're just burning money, but you can do it. I've actually, with my business, I've designed levels so you can get me as a white label or an agency. People can hire me hourly for consultant. I launched my monthly SEO call, so there's different price points people can engage with me. And I may find, and I already have found that there's some people that, oh, I'm going to use AI, but I still want to talk to you twice a month, Charles. Okay, no problem. And I still have a good financial relationship with them, and it's they may come back, they may not come back. Either way, I'm still making money with my time. And that's really what we're in business doing is we're doing this to make money. So I understand you can take it personally. I can understand getting insulted, but it's like ultimately, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. And the best way to do that is to help them with their business.
I'm going to say, I think this shit's inevitable. And for a couple of reasons. And I'll tell you why. One is our industry, if we're just looking at SEO, forget the AI for a minute, but it applies there as well. We don't have a lot of wide adoption of tested data and standards. So I can go and do a screaming frog crawl of digital ear. And I can go to Clint and in a very well-intentioned way and say, look at some of the links that you have here, sir. You've got some things that look like somebody did some GSA things or some of these forum profile things. We really need to clean these up. Whoever's doing your fucking SEO is just not on point. They're not on the ball. You're about to get penalized. And I might believe that to be true, right? And so you're out there, if you're trying to help people, when you go and look at these things and you send reports to, potential clients saying, hey, if you've got an SEO and this is what they're doing, you're in danger. So there's one thing, and that's just ignorance. I mean, you also have some people that are just, all right, I'm going to go steal everybody's clients and I'll say whatever I got to say to get them. But on the flip side, on the AI stuff, there's less good knowledge about what the fuck is going on there. And so if you're any business owner out there, you might think all SEO is the same. And you hear, oh, SEO is dead. Link building is dead. It's all about AI. You can see it. Everybody's going to it. There's no data on that shit, but it kind of feels true because people are saying it. I better dump my agency and get over on this AI stuff so my business doesn't die. So I kind of agree with Charles. They're trying to make the best decisions they can, but there's not a lot of great information out there. So you're going to get churn. When there's opportunity for doubt out there, people are susceptible to any marketing message. And I think maybe that's why Clint's clients hang around a little bit longer is because Clint actually takes time to educate those fuckers.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, we're all marketers, and our purpose is to sell a product or service. And in order to sell a product or service, you have to identify or create a problem that they have, and then solve that problem with your service. That's the
first. Don't create their problems.
Well, yeah, I can create it.
Do you want me to do the link analysis for digital ear?
It's a great business strategy. Go like, create problems and fix them.
You can look at that site. You'd be like, how is this not de-indexed?
Why do people love iframes? How do you use them? What should I avoid? All right. So iframes, last time I tested them, which is a while ago, admittedly, last time I tested them, they were a no index zone, meaning if there was a test keyword in that iframe content and you searched for it, it wouldn't become findable in search by itself. All right. But the thing is, Googlebot is using embedded Chrome. Embedded Chrome views a page with an iframe and it does a second page render for the iframe. So you get your page rendering, and then you get this nested asynchronous page render that puts the entire HTML inside the DOM of your page. And you can see this in the inspector. When you load a page with an iframe, you can see the nested page source in the DOM inspection. And so what's interesting about this is it may actually contribute to other factors. So even though it doesn't help you get indexed, that doesn't mean that it doesn't boost your page if the content in the iframe matches keywords in your page content. So similar to schema no index zone by itself will not make a keyword findable, but it does help boost the page. And so it may be a similar situation. More recent testing is needed in this area with iframes. I would put iframes in the category of plausible until tested. Thoughts?
I agree with you. More testing needs to be done. There have been a lot of claims made over the years, and I know very few people that have actually tested things with iframes. And they found interesting things that they deploy, but those aren't mine to share. So I will say just test it, see what happens.
Yeah, Googlebot's working with a Chrome DOM object, and the Chrome DOM object does have the iframe source. So it is possible for Googlebot to use it. Let's see. For what it's worth, the sharp drop with a number going from top 2 to 10 to page 2. Okay, so sharp drop, that could be an algorithm thing, but that could also be something you did to the page. So I would check in the 2 weeks prior to the sharp drop, what changed about the page. And if something changed, if they deployed a new this, if you edited that, try reverting it, see if it doesn't revert, because it might be that change in the previous 2 weeks that caused the drop, not necessarily an algorithm. Timing could be coincidental.
Yeah, you could also have a server issue that just popped up at that particular time, or links that rolled off.
Links
There's
that rolled off is another common culprit.
yeah, because
Good, good,
I
good.
don't consider this a sharp drop when you go from page 1 to page 2. It's no fun, but sharp drop for me is like I went from 8 to 84. That's a
Yeah,
sharp drop.
the good news is whenever you fall to page 2, you are still in the game. You haven't been algorithmically excluded. Just something isn't right. And if you're still in the game, you got to look for, plays to make. So there's good news here. You're still in the game. All right. With the merch shop, how many satellite sites you think is safe to set up and not get doorway abuse penalty if reported? Well, when I initially did this, I went through my Google reps to make sure it was kosher. And what the Google reps, who are Google ads focused, mind you, they went internally and asked around, and nobody gave a shit except AdWords had a policy that you needed the product mix between the different sites to be at least 15% different to make them compliant for Google advertising. So technically, the answer was as long as the product mix is at least 15% different, you can even use them all for buying ads. And that's what we did. So we took all of page 1, half of page 2, including the paid spots. So I don't know. Google can change its mind at any time, but I don't see a problem with it. And lots of big brands have multiple storefronts. So Old Navy, Banana Republic, Gap. You know, what's the likelihood that they have unified distribution centers for processing orders? So different front ends, same back end, quite likely. Very efficient way to set up an ecom arrangement like that. Um, so when I did it, I had 15 online stores and I made 25 feed driven microsites for those 15 online stores. And so I would use 85% of the merchant feed picked at random to stock those stores to make it in compliance. And off to the races. Source code at the conference and for the online attendees too. I'll be presenting a link for download for that. Let's see. Hey, Ted, how can I check if a page content loads 4 seconds after document ready? There's in the inspector, if you click on network, you can reload the page and watch the waterfall diagram. And they actually show you the timing of events. They color code, whether it's JavaScript or web fonts or whatever is happening. And so you can see what's happening before 4 seconds after document ready or after. Now, that's kind of the quick but difficult way to diagnose the issue. The more direct way is if you have a CMS that can let you set some dynamically loaded content, put a hidden span tag, a span display none, test keyword end span. So it's invisible to people looking at the content, but when it gets dynamically shown, you can see which dynamic pieces aren't indexing that test keyword. And you can see if you have a problem. You can say, hey, specifically, this thing isn't loading fast enough because its test keyword isn't being found. And that's a better diagnostic to take to the web developer because then they can go look at that widget's coding specifically and make it somehow faster. So that would kind of be the best way. This is also how you can prove that it's not the SEO that's the problem, that it's the JavaScript and rendered indexing, because you put an invisible test keyword in the raw page source for the page, as well as in these dynamic widgets. And when the raw page source one is findable, but the widget one isn't, the engineers can argue with that finding. So you can prove it's Google's fault and not the SEO's fault in those cases. Any thoughts on that? All right. Let's see. Instead of why is this happening to me, switch it to what can I learn from this? I like that. Fail forward. Or how can I make my business better? Yep. Let's see. Calgary Roofers. Charles is spot on. Yeah, he has good info. Always get amazing value when I engage with his offerings. Good testimonial. I have had 3 major clients come back this year. Great. They understand AI doesn't grasp current SEO strategies. Yeah, probably won't for a long time. AI has been trained on the echo chamber, not on the best practices. So if you want echo chamber advice, that's what you'll largely get from AI. Let's see. Iframe's used to rank pages incredibly well. As of December 2019, things changed substantially. Used to rank pages well. So it sounds like MD Channel says they aren't working so great currently. Definitely recommend testing before you build out anything big. It's really easy to set up five or set up 10 pages on different domains with similar content. And, they're tuned to the same degree for, the same keyword, but with unique different content. And then have five of them have, iframes to other tuned pages, and do all five of the test pages outrank the controls? I mean, is there a measurable thing? You could probably test this one in a week. Um, and if you're really clever, you can figure out a way to test with already ranking pages that have iframes. So there are statistical ways to look at that, but tricky to find the right keywords to use to get a good cohort to study. With how fast AI is changing the e-commerce landscape, what things should I be focusing on for my e-com site? Well, e-com, as I have always said, should be multi-channel. Because if you're only doing SEO, you're leaving like 85% of the money on the table. So you'll probably get 40% of your revenue from your email list. You'll probably get 25% from social media sites. Uh, you'll you'll have all these different channels, and they all add. And so, in a healthy, large online retailer, your SEO should contribute about 15 to 20% of gross revenue. And if you're getting 65% from SEO in your gross revenue reporting, then you're kind of over invested in the organic channel. And that usually means, two things. One, you're not multi-channel enough, bad. Good news, there's money on the table. Let's go get it. So there's opportunity. The other thing you want to do is you want to view SEO as multi-channel even more now. So you want to look at where the traffic is, and the traffic has not moved since the dawn of search engines. It is above the fold on page one. So you need to look at the opportunities that are above the fold on page one and see which ones you can play with. And for some keywords, that's going to be ads. For some keywords, that's going to be image search. For some keywords, that's going to be local. For some keywords, that's going to be forums and discussions. So you need a multi-channel approach today more than ever, especially if you want to get in front of the traffic. For a lot of keywords, ranking number one isn't good enough. So you need to take a look at your situation. Any thoughts? All right. Let's see. Tuning in after a long time. Happy to see you guys. Welcome back. Hope all is well with you. Thank you. Likewise. Sorry if this is off topic, but I work as a VA. I read many posts saying that VA jobs may become extinct in the future. Even if I know how to do SEO with AI tools, what are your thoughts on this? Well, I would use it as an opportunity to differentiate. Like, I recently found a development trick with AI that I really like. What I do is I write a full application specification for what I'm trying to build, but I break it out into like 30 or 40 phases. And up at the top, I say, I want you to read the whole document, but we are only working on phase 4. So I want them to know what we've already done. I want it to know where we're taking it, but I only want it to do phase 4. If you find good ways of getting good outcomes with AI, That's probably the thing that's going to make you more valuable than, oh no, AI is going to take over my job because I used to put keywords and headings for people. You need to differentiate yourself, show that you're changing with the time, and the people who are interested in getting help with their problems will probably still value that.
Yeah,
What do
look
you
for
think?
ways to. Yeah, I'm sorry. This was something I just had a conversation with somebody about last week. Look for ways to increase your value. You can easily increase your value now with AI. A simple example, I was working with a client, a white label client. They're always getting people coming and asking them for an audit. Can I have an audit? Can I have an internal link audit? Can I have an SEO audit? And he always turns them away because it's a lot of work and no one wants to pay any money. With AI, we can do that now. We can do it suddenly makes money. Somebody wants to pay $400, $500 for an audit. I can give them a quickie audit for $400 or $500 now that we couldn't do before. We can even offer people free audits if we think if it's a really warm lead and it's not hours of work or anything like that. It's something that can be done. So AI can enable you to create value where you couldn't create it before. I would also say that don't think of your time as just like, oh, I'm going to spend an hour doing this. Think of what task are you completing. If Ted wants to make $1,000 an hour, but he might take $100 job from me because he knows he can do it in less than 5 minutes. Now, is he cheating me? No, I need this task done and I'm willing to pay $100 for it. And he's like, hey, I can do this in 5 minutes, maybe even less. It'll take him longer to email me. Transaction complete. Everyone's happy. So look at it for the opportunity. I think there was a good quote in the comments about looking, how can we take, don't say, oh my God, my world is over. Think, how do I change my business? How do I lean into this?
Yeah, and maybe there's a silver bullet idea out there that's simple and perfect for you. Like maybe given a spreadsheet of expenses, you can use AI to initially classify them, and then you human edit that to make sure it all looks proper and complete. And now you're doing bookkeeping. Keep in mind there are ways to do this that could bring new opportunities to the table where people would like the efficiency of AI, but still like the comfort of, an editor to review. And those places aren't likely to go all AI in a hurry because if they blow things up, people get audits and that could be catastrophic. And so, look for opportunities, get creative, differentiate.
I mean, I'll add to this as someone who hires VAs. If you show zero lack of initiative, then your days are numbered. And if you have zero problem solving skills, your days are numbered. AI allows you to show more initiative and it allows you to solve more problems. So you should be thinking those as those tools versus how to, what versus what, like if you're hired to do SEO work. One, if you're hired as an SEO, you're not a VA, you're an SEO. So change that thinking a little bit. But if you're hired as a virtual assistant and your job is to, I don't know, manage my schedule and clean my emails and all that other stuff, you are inevitably going to see other problems that I'm having where you can take on that workload with a little bit of very little effort and use AI to help you to accomplish that stuff. That's how you differentiate yourself versus the VA who does, I don't know, content creation, for example. You're providing a service that enables me to not have to do something that's just tedious and I don't want to do it. I don't think AI is going to get rid of you in that regards, but there are some things that you could, that, content writing articles, for example, less need for iWriter type people and more need for people that can read in English and edit it for grammar and factual statements, etc., versus the writer thing. So you just pivot a little bit of what you're doing, but at the end of the day, have some initiative and solve problems. And that's how you stay employed. If you don't have any initiative and you don't solve problems, then what the hell do I need you? I don't need you. I can figure out a way to replace you. Or, with AI, or for someone cheaper that just wants to push buttons.
There you go. That's all we have for you today. So thank you for watching the show, and we will see you same time next week.